to an external site, all that stuff is in there. You can define words, you can find synonyms, synonyms. I need a sip of Diet Coke. Synonyms. You can convert currency, all these different things, or all these kind of quirky things that you can do with it. And let me show you what that looks like. Here's a screenshot of when I decided to define a word, and I decided to define the word school. And it gives you all these different definitions that are found around the web and where that definition came from. And then it also gives you related phrases, so if you wanted to dig down further on that term. And I do this all the time. I don't go to Merriam-Webster, m-w.com anymore. I just type it into my Google search box, and boom, I have that there. And that's just a very simple thing that our students can do and get used to and be part of their digital workflow. Another thing you can do is you can look for file types. We all know that files have an ending on them, like pictures are .jpg or PDFs or docs or whatever. You can search for specific file types. Let's say you want a copy of the U.S. Constitution that's already online, but you want it in PDF format so that you can direct your kids to it. You type in U.S. Constitution, file type, PDF, and boom, you get a whole list of things. So you could do that with anything that you were looking for, but that's just an example that I put up here for you. Here's an example of conversions, and they have a nice disclaimer there saying that it's only for information, it's not for holding people to the actual conversion. Yeah.
One of the file type ones, go back to the file types, PPT is a great one to do a search for, because if you want to find PowerPoints that other people have created about the U.S. Constitution or whatever topic, the PPT is another one to look for, and you can find people that put things online.
And then a JPEG would be like if you're looking for a picture of Obama or something like that, you could do that too. Yeah. So these nice little tricks will make save you a lot of time and make things much more efficient. It also serves as a calculator too, so I don't bother to bring up my little math calculator, even though I love that. But you can just type something in the search box and it tells you the equation. So that's something very, very simple. There are lots of different things that it does. There's a cheat sheet listed in your handout and in some of the resources I have at the end that will tell you a gazillion other things that you can do with it. But that's just basically search, and I think people don't realize that it does all these things besides just looking for whatever you're looking for. So keep that in mind. There's also an area called advanced search, and this is kind of the same as using operators like and or. You can type in all these words, and it will find those words together, the exact wording or phrase, one or more of these words. But there's also one too. There it also has the file type there too. You can also look according to copyright, that sort of thing. If you click on the plus sign. But sometimes in advanced search, I thought they did it in this box, you can find things that link to a page. Let's say you find a really great website, you want to say, I wonder who links to here, to see maybe there'd be some other great resources that were related. You can do that too. And generally, there's a whole list of operators that you can use like that. I think it's linked to : and then the name of the website if you wanted to write it out. But there is a place on the Google search site where you can actually just type in the link and it will show you what links to it. It's also very interesting too to see if people are linking to your own stuff. If you have a web page, or if you want to see who's linking to the Stevenson High School web page, you can see who's doing that. Google Book Search is one of my favorite things, and this is, I think, also not really well known. In the PDF of the presentation, all of these links here are live, so you can take a look at them at your leisure. But let me show you what Google Book Search does on the fly here. This is I didn't have my, we'll wait till this comes up. And I'll come back to it. But you can bookmark books into your own library if you have a Google account. And a Google account, by the way, I did go into this earlier, is not a Gmail address necessarily. It is an account that ties all your Google services together. You can get if you get a Gmail account, you get a Google account as well. But if you want to use your regular email address for a Google account, you can't do that. It gets to be a little bit confusing. So you can search for books. Like here, I searched for books by Raymond Chandler because last summer it was one of his books was the One Chicago, One Mayor Daley's reading program. Everybody was supposed to read one of his books. So this is a screenshot from looking for all of Raymond Chandler's books, and you can click on these books, and it will show you a portion of it, or sometimes in some cases a full text of the book. It depends on what rights have been relinquish to Google for publishing this stuff. But let me show you a little bit more in depth what it looks like. And you can save these to your own library on Google. So here's the search that I did for Raymond Chandler, and you can see that it gives you some information, like there's a preview available, a limited preview for the Big Sleep. So that means part of the book is going to be showing, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. For the other ones, it doesn't look like there's a lot of previews available. If you click on About This Book, it shows you lots of detailed information about the book, excerpts, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then you'll see a link that says Add to My Library. And you can add it to your own personal collection of books. And that library, your library, also has a link to it that you could give to other people. So you could put your books in your syllabus on there. You could and publish that link for your kids so they can look up what they need to know about what's required for your class. So here's my library. This is a screenshot of it. And you can see that I've saved lots of books. I think this particular day I was saving lots of Lincoln books. And you can tag them. You can add keywords to them. And in that way, you can click on these tags and it takes you to all the books about communities, or all the books about curriculum, or all the books by Tommy Died Paola. You can click on whatever because I've tagged it. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. So that's kind of what your library page looks like. It's public. And the link and there's a link to it, so that's just what people would see if they came to your library page. So here's a little bit more of what it looks like. You can see it in different views. And you can search all books, and you can search your own library too, which is really nice. So The Long Goodbye was the book that everybody in Chicago was supposed to read last summer. And it tells you keywords and phrases and the ISBN number and all that stuff, and you can add to your library. But what I find, you can also search inside the book. And this is about the book page. Every book, it looks a little different. Some of the content is different depending on, I don't know why it is this way. But the really important thing to pay attention to here, it says find this book in the library. That will take you to WorldCat, which is a cataloging service, which I'm sure you guys have here. And WorldCat can tell where your IP address is. And usually, or you can type in your zip code, and it will show you where to find that book, the closest spot in a public library. So I think I have. So here's my WorldCat screenshot. So my zip code is 60618, and it showed that this book was in the Northeastern Illinois University Library, 2 miles from my house. I could probably click on that, and if I had privileges at the NEIU library, I could probably just check it out or see if it was in the stacks at that time online. So it has nice interactivity with digital libraries or automated systems that a lot of libraries have. And I like WorldCat too, which is not a Google product. Also, if you have an account with them, I believe you can also keep a bibliography in there, and it will give you annotations and things like that as well. So I just think this is very, very, very cool when you're trying to locate information. This is a perfect example of how they're trying to make things more accessible. They're not trying to take away from the copyright of the book, and trying to make it easy for you to get it. Yes?
I'm just wondering on that one search where you said you could go inside the book, I was in a previous luncheon that dealt with tagging.
Yes.
And I used Tag Crowd to create, it visualizes the text.
Yeah.
So if I go here and go within the text of the book, what Tag Crowd, I have to give them the URL, or I have to give them the file to upload. Can I do that from this, or do I still need to search the text online?
I think you still have to search the text online. Let me show you a little bit how this works. So, so let's say I'm looking for, what's a book? Give me the name of the book.
Julie Caesar's type into that one.
Okay. I don't know if I can spell Julie Caesar. Which one did you click on?
Did you type in Julie Caesar?
So here you can see, you can scroll through the book, and probably because I want to say there's not a lot of copyright on this at this point. You can look through probably the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes I type in like motif goes, having kids do an analysis of the motif of goes when it appears, and it lists every quote that appears in the book, so kids don't have to physically go through and find it. They can see, oh, I missed one on page 79.
Cool. How cool is that? And you can download this and view the plain text. This is not going to be for every book. Every book, the features are different. It's kind of interesting to see what turns up. You can review it. So you can write public reviews.
Can you select that text?
So you could copy and paste it.
Yeah, please give them Tag Crown.
I was using Tag Crown.
You need to look at Wordle. It's really
Wordle?
cool. Yeah, because you
Better?
can cut and paste the text and it turns it into this graphic and then you can manipulate the graphic. It's really cool. I can't get into it. 'cause
Okay.
I have your
That's okay.
filter, but, so then I would, if I wanted to actually find this book, I could go to any of these bookstores here and actually, you can see if it's available to purchase, or I could go to the World Cat piece. And then find it. You saw how that was, for the most part. So there it is. And I don't know if it's gonna recognize where I am right now. Yeah, it's 60661. I love it. So at Vernon Hills High School, they have a copy of it. We wanted that specific one. and-
Stevenson?
No.
There it is. We have it.
Oh, there, you do have it. Now, I wonder if you click on here now, I have no idea what your library does.
It just takes you to our library page.
Pretty cool though, huh? You can do a lot of, work before you actually get to the library. Let me show you the Long Goodbye one, because the Long Goodbye had a map one that I just thought was so amazing. This is what I thought was really cool too. I hope this is the right one. that I have here. So it shows you the excerpt, you can search inside the book and it shows you the excerpt. So I could look for, I think what I did in a previous example, I looked for the word street. And I found all the examples of it. You can see it there. But then it shows references from web pages, reviews, the contents, references from books and other editions, from scholarly works, and I'll talk about Google Scholar in a minute. But this is what I thought was just the coolest. There's a map here of all the places mentioned in the book. And so, and it tells you the pages that are on there. I mean, and I don't think this is taking the legwork away from the kids. I think it's making it more interesting, and you can make assignments around, some of these things. So it tells you the dates mentioned on those pages, and they can take a screenshot of this. They could, not every book has this, unfortunately. I wish they did, but that blew me away when I saw it. So Google Book Search, the way, just so you, let me go back to mine so you can see what I've done with mine. IT work with mostly little people, one of our teachers, we're mapping technology to our curriculum. So a first grade teacher is cataloging all the books that she uses for different units. So she does an Apple unit. She adds a label. Those are called labels instead of tags here. But she'll label it Apple, so that it will pop up here and she'll find all of her Apple books, and you can link to a specific tab. So if I wanted my parents to, here's an example. I asked people what they thought their essential education reads were, what the classic books that information about education. You click on that tag, it shows you all the books there are 12 of them that people recommended to me. And I could take this link right here, copy it, and paste it in a website or an email or whatever, and just direct people to those 12 books as opposed to my entire library. Does that make sense? So in this wiki that we're building with mapping our technology to our curriculum, there'll be an Apple unit and there'll be a link to our Apple tagged books, so that whatever teachers can say, oh, I can use the resources that Deborah has accumulated for this unit. So that's kind of how we're using it on a school basis. Maybe you can do it as a department. This kind of leads into Google Scholar, which I think it's interesting, and it's probably more applicable to higher ed and high school teachers. And I'll show you what it looks like a little bit. Again, it looks a lot like book search in some ways. You can look at the text of these. It's actually, why did I search? I just searched Richard M. Daly. I guess I was in this Chicago thing last summer when I took these screenshots. But you can see all the mentions here. You can see that there is a PDF available for this particular one here. And then I don't know if you see it where it says find it at UChicago. I have it set up so that it knows to search the University of Chicago's collection, because half my time I'm on the University of Chicago campus. And if I clicked on that link, it would take me to the University of Chicago's library, and I could go in there and order it and have it delivered to my office, and never even set foot in the library. So you could debate whether that's a good thing or not, but you can set this here. The other thing too is also to see who is it cited by. This one's been cited 403 times. Maybe that's something that's pretty important if 400 people have deemed it worthy of citing in their PhD theses or whatever. So you can click on there and see who else has cited it, and maybe find some other research that's relevant to your topic that way. So that's, and then this is advanced scholar search, and so you can kind of narrow things down. This one I did for John Dewey, and I said just search the social sciences. Okay, so you can search by author. I found my dad's dissertation in here. It was kind of fun to do a little Google jockeying. So these are the articles about John Dewey here. You can see that this one's been cited, the first one's been cited 40,000 times. Just kind of, so you know it's probably pretty good or relevant. The library links here, in the preferences for Google Scholar, I say show library access links for WorldCat and for University of Chicago Library. So that's how I specified that. Google Scholar's not as glamorous as some of these other things, but Google News and Google Books are kind of glamorous because a lot of people things you can do with it. Google News is thousands of publications online that you can search. Some are archived. I'm not sure how far it goes back. I use it in conjunction with Google Reader, which is a news aggregator, and that's a whole other session, one of these long sessions. And let me show you what it looks like a little bit. So this is what news looks like. You have the current top stories and that sort of thing. You can do it by category. I believe you can customize the categories on your own personal news page. See where it says edit this personal page? You can kind of change how it looks for you and what you want to pay attention to. So that's kind of the start page for Google News. This is how you edit. When you click on edit this personal page, you can add a standard section that they've made for you. You can add a local section. You can make up your own search and have a section added for that. Lots of different things. That's what it looks like when you customize it, and you can drag those boxes around in the order that you'd like to. Again, there's an advanced news search here, so you can look by publication, by date, things like that, so you can really refine your search. And then you can also, there are also quotes in here. You can search, you can find quotes by people. So all these quotes were by Richard Daley about different things. And the cool thing about that is that you can search those quotes. So if you put in like Barack Obama and John McCain, you can search all their education. You can refine it further by looking for all their quotes about education or about Iraq or whatever. So you can do some kind of comparing and contrasting with that. So that's all within Google News. There are different views of it. There's a standard version, text version, and an image version. But it's all the same thing. And there's something up here called RSS. And RSS is the technology that makes it so that you can subscribe to things. Instead of having you going to websites all the time and looking for new content, it comes to you. It's like a magazine subscription. I think that's probably the simplest way to explain it. And so this is the cool thing. On this one, I did a search for the U.S. economy. I hit that RSS button, and then it will go into my news reader and show me all the articles on the U.S. economy. So that's the text version. This is the image version, and then let me go. I have this out of order. So this is my news reader. And when I do a search for the U.S. economy, it's going to go right into this newsreader and show me the most recent articles about the U.S. economy. So I think it's a really good thing for high school kids to be able to do if they have some sort of device for a newsreader set up so that they can keep track of current events or some topic that's related to your classes. They'll get all the current information without having to laboriously look for it using that RSS. So let me go back a minute. Let me backtrack here. So those are the different views of what the news results look like. Same stuff, just in the different views depending on your preferences. There's also this news archive search. So I looked from Richard Daley, and I don't know how far it goes back, and it brings you back to this page. It also searches blogs for you. And then there's one view, this is called the timeline view. It shows you when all the articles came up about Richard, or this is U.S. economy in this instance. And if you click on those blue bars, it will dig down into the month that the article was published. And you can see everything, if you're looking for a particular time, like maybe you want to go back and look and see what happened, what was published on September 11th that day, or September 12th would actually probably be more relevant. And there's a gadget that you can add to your webpage that does stuff with this as well. You can see that at the top. It's called Google Scroll Through History. But this is just another interesting way of kind of looking and analyzing the news and to look at things by time period. Here's my newsreader. I can do a search in the newsreader and add a Google search right to it as well, without having to go to that page. And this is what it looks like when you add something. And if you want to subscribe to it permanently, after you've seen it, you can just hit that subscribe button. You can also paste in one of these fancy RSS feeds, and it will subscribe you to stuff. The last thing that I wanted to, how are we doing for time? Okay, the last thing I wanted to make you aware of too is Google's custom search. And it will lead you, it's pretty easy to do. If you go to this website, it will lead you through the steps to make your own search engine so your kids don't have to go to every single website on the planet. Let's say you're doing a project on Chinese history. You can list 20 sites that you want your kids to visit, and that's the 20 that they're going to be searching. They're not going to be going all over the internet. And so hopefully be more focused, and you're kind of scaffolding the project for them. And let me show you what it looks like. So I've made about 10 million, not 10 million, but I made several search engines. And this is like kind of my home page for them. And there's a home page, and there's a control panel, and there's statistics to see how many people are accessing these search engines. And on the home page is actually the search engine. And it looks like this, okay? And I can direct kids to this page, and you can see that it's searching only 22 sites. And I can put keywords in there. I can add to my iGoogle page. I can also take that search box and embed it in a blog or a web page if you're that techie. But this way, I have kids going kind of, kid-friendly sites instead of just going to Google, which I think a lot of people do. They go Google it. Well, this kind of helps refine that and teach them some skills. This is the page where I can add links to be searchable, and you can make the custom search engine just focus on these sites or focus on these websites and the web, and make these websites pop up first. And instead of doing it manually, you can do it, adding these things, you can do it on the fly with something called Google Marker. And Google Marker is, and this gets to be a little bit advanced, but it's really not that hard. I'm sure Charlene can help you with this. Google Marker is a little doodad that goes in your browser's toolbar. And when you come to a website that you like, you click on it and boom, a window will pop up like this that says annotate this page. And I can tell it what search engine to be put in, and you can see it and so forth. And I just save it, and that bookmark is now, that website would now be bookmarked in this list. And part of the searchable engines, or searchable websites in my engine. Does that make sense? Look like your mind's going to be or going to burst now. But it's a way of kind of like directing your kids to kind of manage the information a little bit better. So you can find, Charlene has my contact information. There are two handouts, one that you have right now, the Beyond Google one, which kind of goes through some of the things I talked about. And then there was a handout that was a little bit more intense that we did for the Google Teacher Academy that leads you through some of this stuff and some of the things that you can do with it. So I hope that will support you in your use of Google stuff. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay? It's at the last slide. It's the last slide of the handout that you're giving them. Right. That you're giving to them. There's like a more detailed handout for people who. I thought that was a little more manageable than giving you like this. So if you want more information, it's there. Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments? Are you guys using any of this stuff? You think you might? It's food for thought, I use it for myself mostly. Right, things because little people are not quite ready for all this, but I think big kids would be.
All right, well, thank you very much for going through that. And spread that out to all your friends. There's 2 more periods, repeat performances coming up. Have a great weekend.